Thank you very much for making it tonight. I have the privilege to start tonight playing or sharing a piece with you that I really enjoyed listening to, and I really like this piece. It's composed by Horacio Salgan. We can travel a little bit in space and go all the way down to South America, particularly Argentina. And this song that I'm going to interpret now is called Don Agustín Bardi. It's a sort of homage to this Agustín Bardi, who was a composer, and Horacio Salgan composed this piece for him. A little bit of what is the piece about. Let's think it this way. In Norse mythology, we have a quote, or it is known that water is the vehicle of sentiment. And why is that? Because water transports blood, and water transports tears. That's why it's the vehicle of sentiment. Tango, for the early 1900 immigrant, is the vehicle of expression. It's the vehicle to express frustrations, tribulations, as well as successes and victories. So this piece particularly is composed based on the golden era of tango. So you're going to hear a lot of marcato in the piece. And yeah, I hope you enjoy, and thank you very much again for making it tonight.
Good evening. So my piece is on Florence Beatrice Price, and she was born in Little Rock, Arkansas in 1887. She received early training on the piano from her mother, a music teacher. The glory that waits, The text for Swing Low, Sweet Chariot refers to the Old Testament about the prophet Elijah's ascent into heaven by chariot. This song uses the theme of death to remind the audience of the glory that awaits in heaven. This song is characterized by its use of repetition as a key poetic element and powerful imagery. Florence Price's music was lost over 50 years, but recently rediscovered. She was the first Afro-American composer to write a symphony performed by the CSO, Chicago Symphony Orchestra. Here's a familiar tune to us all, Swing Low, Sweet Chariot.
Hello, my name is Chris. Like many of you, we listen to WFMT here in Chicago, and it was the first time that I really heard Florence Price, and I heard a set of six pieces, 6 pieces for solo piano. I can't recall who the artist was, but I really fell in love with it, and so today I was going to play number 3 of that set of 6 pieces. And this piece is similar to like a gollywog's cakewalk or a cakewalk style, which if you don't know anything about what a cakewalk dance is, it's about winning a cake. That's the primary thing. People are dancing to win this cake. But the people that were dancing were usually black people who were trying to mimic the upper elite aristocrats in whatever setting they were at. So it's a very pompous dance and very highbrow, but they're mocking them. So this piece is actually written as allegro scherzando being more like a joke. So I find this piece to be a little bit more in the realm of like jokes, little jokes. It's a very small piece, and it just shows that Florence Price liked to play with little idioms and little ideas and get as much music as she could out of that. So without further ado, I'm going to play number 3 of the 6 pieces for solo.
thank you for coming. Today I'm going to be playing a piece called Sketches in Sepia. And this piece to me is, in my personal opinion, about home. It's written in ternary form, and in my opinion, the A section represents Florence's home in Little Rock, where everything is very sweet, nostalgic, careful, slow. And for me, the B section in this piece represents the bustling Chicago that she came to find work, to find a way for her to show her talents, her skills, to express herself. And I think both places are a deep part of her and a deep home inside of her. Yet I think she yearns for her childhood home the most. And I hope that feeling comes across for you guys, and you guys can feel that same longing that I feel. Thank you.
Remembrance by the Florence Prize bears the subtitle to Mr. Henry S. Sawyer. The references is to Henry was a Chicago-based composer who published it with the McKinney, one of Price's own publishers. She wrote out Remembrance twice, which is its unusual and extra work for the composer. So we can see that Sawyer was apparently a figure of some personal importance to her. As she remembers the memories she had with him, there will be emotional changes throughout the piece. Hope you enjoy.
Okay, moving on to the next composer. I would like to talk about Dr. Valerie Capers. So she was born to a musical family in New York, but lost her sight at the age of 6 from an illness. But she was pretty successful. Yeah, she was the first blind person to be graduating Juilliard, the music school. Yeah, and she later then teaches at Manhattan School of Music. So she started off just doing classical music, but then was inspired by her brother Bobby Capers, who is a tenor sax home and flutist, yeah. And so she started learning jazz composition with her brother and wrote her first album of jazz that's named Portrait in Soul, and then later she wrote the Portrait in Jazz, and which is also the work that we'll be playing off from. And she is still alive today. I think she's 86 now. And I'll be playing Billy's song. This piece was written in remembrance of the famous American jazz singer, Billie Holiday, who's also known as Lady Day. This I think is written in remembrance to her powerful jazz singing style and her tragic personal life.
Hello everyone. I'm going to be playing the Canción de la Havana for you. Havana is located in Cuba. This song is reminiscent of a type of genre of Cuban rumba. It's called guaguancó, and it contains elements of percussion, voice, and it's also used for dance. It's a mix of Western African, Nigerian rhythmic patterns, and also contains free, cadenza, like flamenco melodies.
Bossa Brasilia from Portraits in Jazz by Valerie Kiefer is inspired by the Bossa Nova from Brazil, which is a two-measure rhythmic pattern in 4/4 time that doesn't actually occur in this piece. The flavor and feelings is created through the repetition of the darir quarter and the eighth note patterns in the left hand, which are played against the offbeat quarter notes of the melody that is playing with the right hand. Bossa Nova is influenced by American pop and jazz during the 60s, so it would be beneficial for a performer who familiarize themselves with this style in order to capture its full essence within the music.
Betty Jackson King was born in Chicago in 1928, and her first experience to music was probably through church because her father was a pastor and her mother was a prominent singer. She was an accomplished composer, choral director, and educator. She received her bachelor's degree in piano and her master's degree in composition from the Chicago Musical College of Roosevelt University. The piece that I'm going to be playing is titled Spring Intermezzo, and it's from a collection of 4 seasonal sketches. Something I think that's important to note is since she was from Chicago, she obviously knew how terrible our winters here are. And knowing such, we oftentimes like the spring despite the raininess because it gets warm. And I think the music does a good job of depicting that since it's very beautiful. And also knowing that she was heavily influenced by, hearing vocals in church. A lot of the melodies are very song-like, and I hope you guys enjoy the performance.
Hello, my name is Kyle Lin. I'm one of the guest pianists from the University of Chicago. Today I'll be playing a piece called, pardon my French pronunciation, I don't speak any French, but it's called Trois morceaux pour piano by Lily Boulanger, and that translates to 3 pieces for piano. And those 3 pieces, well, this piece is of course separated into 3 pieces. The first piece is called the Old Garden. The second piece is the Clear Garden, and the third piece is cortège, which translates to like a procession. And for those of you who don't know who Lily Boulanger is, she is the younger sister of Nadia Boulanger, which tends to be more familiar to you.
you everyone for being here tonight. I'm going to play a piece by Takemitsu Toru, probably one of the most important and most influential post-war Japanese composer. This piece, the Rinchi Sketch, the second one, was written in 1992, and it was his last piece written for piano in memory of Miss Young. This piece was also inspired by a novel, a short story written by Oe Kenzaburo, the Nobel Prize laureate, Japanese writer. It is a very philosophical piece, meditative, ghostly. Takemitsu was contemplating on the structure of the world as a Japanese post-war intellectual, and I hope you like it.
So the piece I'm going to play is the Prelude Opus 7 number 1 by a Ukrainian composer whose name is Levko Ragutsky. He was born in 1889 and died in 1977. And this piece was composed between 1918 and 1921. So the style would be kind of similar to Rachmaninoff and earlier Scriabin. And Ragutsky was a composer famous for incorporating some folk element, Ukrainian folk element into the music, and he has very unique harmonies. So yeah, that's the piece.
I'll be playing a piece by Amy today. She was, by all accounts, a child prodigy. You know, by the age of 1, she was, it was said she was able to sing like 40 songs, which is, I mean, what 1-year-old child can do that, right? By the age of 4, she was writing her first compositions, which on its own is pretty remarkable already, except that she did so without access to a piano, so she wrote all of that in her mind entirely. And I think it's even more remarkable that, at least when it comes to composition, she was largely self-taught. It is, I think, a pity that her family discouraged her from seeking instruction, but it is still pretty amazing what she was able to do anyway.
Danza is one of the most remarkable composers of the 20th century. And she was born and raised in the segregated black south side of Chicago. She studied at Northwestern University in piano and composition with Theodore Taylor, as well as Florence Price. Because of her race, she had to study in the basement of the university's library. And in that library is where she met Langston Hughes, became a lifelong friend to her. He persuaded her to move to New York and became a part of the city's thriving African American intellectual and cultural community. She earned a reputation for social justice activities on behalf of African Americans. Throughout her career, Bonds produced a wide range of works spanning from orchestral composition, theatrical accompaniments, and traditional African American spiritual arrangements. This piece that I will be performing to you is called Tang American. It was recently published in 2020 under the title Two Works for Solo Piano. The other work is Fugal Dance. Tang American is a contribution to the genre of Argentinian tango.
I have two pieces
from the spiritual suite. There's 3 pieces in this suite, and all of them are spirituals. And Jin's going to tell you a little bit more about that. So the first is Dry Bones, which comes from Ezekiel in the Bible. And then the second is Peter, Go Ring Them Bells. And apparently the bones were scattered in the desert when Israel was held in captivity. So I'm taking a guess here that African American people may have held on to this particular Dry Bones spiritual because they were taken from their homeland, similar to how the Israeli people of that time were in captivity and couldn't return home. And there's some symbolism as well in the Peter, Go Ring Them Bells spiritual. You could think of the text, I wonder where my mother has gone, as the mother ascending to heaven. Or you could also think of the text as the mother has gone north she's fled the south of the U.S. and she's gone north to her own personal freedom. She's no longer a slave. So here are the 2 pieces from the spiritual suite.
So the name of the piece that I'm going to play is Margaret Bonds. The name of the composer is Margaret Bonds. And the name of the piece is Troubled Water. This piece was written in 1967. So it's written based off the main theme of the spiritual song called Wade in the Water. This song was sang by the black people who were escaping from the slavery. So Margaret Bonds brought this theme back to her time, as she had to go through such harsh racial discrimination as a classical young female black classical musician in Chicago. The original spiritual song, Wade in the Water, has its main theme lyrics, wade in the water, children, God is gonna trouble this water. This lyric is a metaphor for the black people themselves to the story of Moses in the Bible. So there is a scene in the Bible which Moses' mother puts her just-born baby Moses in a basket and floats him on the river and sends him to Egypt to save from the genocide that was happening in Israel at the time. So this story resonated with the black people who were escaping from slavery at the time. And Margaret Bonds used this theme in her music at her time to come up against the racial discrimination. So I'll be playing this piece. So it's a Margaret Bonds style, jazz and classical mixed style. It's arranged in that style.